In this episode we are going to create a mini cart for our e-commerce site, but we are going to have to change some things that we created in the previous episode to make this work because I miscalculated a bit how this is supposed to work. But these are going to be just small changes. And you know, these things happen in software development. Sometimes you have to change your approach midway if your assumptions were incorrect or you haven't thought things through, which I obviously did not. We are also going to introduce a bit of state management to our app, which I'm not very happy about because I thought we would be able to rely solely on React Query for that, but turns out that we can't, or maybe I'm missing something and that is why it's not working properly. I will show you what I mean during this episode. But this is not all bad because I got to play with Zustand, a very lightweight state management library, which as you will see is a joy to use. So let's get started. First we are going to add a few fields to temp order and change the name of some fields since we don't want to save IDs of product sizes and colors in it anymore, but we want to save actual values like product name, size, short title and color value. This is because of that miscalculation that I mentioned in the intro. It would be really hard for us to create a query to get the actual values by using the IDs of products, colors and sizes and then display all of that data correctly. Or we would need to run multiple queries every time someone adds product to cart, which is not optimal. So this way is going to be much simpler and better because we are not getting any benefits by getting our values by IDs, and we would be adding more complexity to our app, which is never a good thing. So we are going to go to our session collection here. And in the temp order, we are going to go to interface. We are going to leave input ID, but I'm going to create a new field and call it product name. This is where we are going to save the name of our product. It's going to be a string and the interface is going to be input, and that's it. Next thing, I want to change the color ID. So color ID, I want to change it to be color value. Okay, save it. Next thing, I want to change the size ID to be size short title and save that. And also I want to add a template here. So this template is going to be product name, size short value, short title and color value. So this is what we are going to get when we go to the session and click on the actual session. We are going to see the list with product name, size, short title and color value. And also I just want to add one more field, and this field is going to be just called ID because maybe we will need that field down the line when we try to remove items from our basket, since we are going to be able to add multiple products with the same IDs. So for example, you can add two hats with different colors and they are both going to have the same ID. So we want to give those items in our baskets unique IDs by which we can track them and then maybe delete them or update them or whatever. And I'm going to save this, and I think that's about it. Save it. Now, before we get to the code for our Nextjs application, I'm going to install two dependencies. One is going to be UUID, which we are going to be using for unique IDs for our products, like I said. And also I'm going to install Zustand, which I talked about in the intro. It's a very lightweight state management library for React mostly, but you can also use it for vanilla JavaScript. So we do npm install UUID and also Zustand. Okay, so once that is installed, we can get to the code and do some changes there. Now let's just make some changes to our code to reflect the changes that we did in Directus. So first of all, we have this color ID and set color ID. So this is going to be color value. And the other one is going to be set color value. Then we have size ID, so we call this size short title, so this is going to be called size short title, and set size short title. Okay, so now we need to go to our input fields here. As you can see, we have input type radio, so the value for that is product color ID, what we want to do here is we want to say color value, and also this is not going to be set color ID but set color value. Okay, next one is the sizes. So this is going to be value is going to be short title instead of ID, and here we are going to set size short title. Great. Next thing I want to do is I want to remove this disable from here, because I decided that I actually want the users to be able to add same products to the cart with maybe different variations. So we are not going to be disabling this button once somebody clicks on add to cart. And also we want to remove that from here. And also we want to remove this use state because we are not using it anymore. And also I want to change this push function here, so product ID stays the same. We added a product name, so we are going to send it a product name. Then for the color ID, we don't have color ID anymore, we have color value, and this is going to be color value. And we don't have size ID but size short title, and this is going to be size short title. Okay, and there is just one more thing left, and that's the ID, and the ID is just going to be UUID version 4. And how do you get that? So first of all, we need to import it. We installed that dependency just a minute ago, so you import it like this: import v4 as UUID v4, and then here you can just use UUID v4, and that's it. This is going to generate unique ID for us that we can maybe use later if we need it. Okay, now that this is saved, I think we did all the changes that we needed to do before actually creating the mini cart. Let's just test our application and see if everything still works. Okay, so we are on our application right now. Check if you have this session ID set. I do. I'm going to remove it so we can get a fresh one. Maybe refresh the page. Click on super duper head, choose color and size, add to cart. We get the session ID here. Then let's try to add original t-shirt. Also add it to cart, and maybe do the same thing for the mug. Add to cart, go to the sessions, refresh it. We get a session right here. Let's check if everything is okay. Okay, so we added super duper head, and as you can see, this is the template that we added. So we get super duper head, size S, and we get the value of the color. And same thing for original t-shirt and very good mug. Of course, very good mug is missing the size, and the original t-shirt is missing the color. Okay, so this works, and now we are ready to implement our mini cart. So now in our components, we are going to, so I'm going to go to components. We are going to create a new file here, and I'm going to call it minicart.jsx. And then we just create a normal function here, and in that function I want to return the session. So now I'm showing you the way that I hoped that this would work, but unfortunately doesn't work very well, as you will see. So here I'm just calling the session just like we did in the slug, and then I want to return something. And I know this looks like a lot of code, but this is just a table. So I'm just defining a section right here, and with the table auto, we are adding our headings to the table. So product name, size, color, quantity, and price. And then here we are mapping through the session or temp order in the session and just displaying our products. Very simple. And we are getting that session from here. Of course, I forgot to import use query. So now it's imported. We also need to import get session, and we also need to import get data. Great. So we imported all of these. Next thing I want to add here is this block of code. So what this says, if there is no session, then just return your cart is empty. So this is going to run if we don't have anything in our session temp order, and we are going to get your cart is empty, and then we just save this. Now let's add minicart JSX to our app JSX, because we want to see minicart all over our website. I'm going to import it here between query client provider. So minicart, of course we need to import it from components minicart. And now this should actually already be working since we already have something in our sessions. So let's just check it out. It says UUID v4 is not defined. I forgot to import that because in here, if you check out this code, so I'm using also UUID4 to get the key for this. Although maybe we can actually remove this, and since we have the IDs now, we can just do item ID. This should be good enough because we are generating those IDs already, so we maybe don't need to use them here. Okay, save this. Now let's check this out. And as you can see, this works. So super duper hat, original t-shirt, very good mug, great. Let's just remove our session ID and see what we get now. So if I refresh it, now this looks like this, but if I click here, do add to cart, I get it, great. If I click on the original shirt, add to cart, this one I don't get, and you get it when you move the pages. When you move to another page, let's try very good mug. As you can see, nothing is happening. We go back, now we get very good mug. So this is not working very well. As I said, I wanted to use React Query for our state management, but as you can see, this is not so nice because it works only when you go back or when you click on another product, then this re-renders and gets everything that we need. I also tried this, which is going to work a bit better, but still very unstable for my taste. So what we can do here is, first of all, we can import use query client here and then define it like this. So const. So we define query client like this. And now what we can do in this mutation that we are running, we can do something like on success. So what do we want to happen on success? And we can use query client. And we want to say invalidate queries. And we want to invalidate queries that are called session. And it works even better if you put a session like this in these square brackets. So save this. And as you can see, so our queries in the minicart, our query in the minicart is called session, and also it's called session right here. And since this is all under this query client provider, React Query knows that this is the same query, more or less. So when you invalidate those queries, they're going to clean the cache and automatically refetch those queries. At least in theory, this should be working that way. But it doesn't work very stable, as you will see right now. So let's go to our browser, remove the session ID, refresh it once more, and okay, we get your cart is empty. Go to super duper hat, choose color and size, add to cart. And as you can see, we get it added to cart right away. We can then go to the t-shirt, do the same thing. And now this is where the problems start coming. As you can see, it blinked out and then it just disappeared for some reason. I don't know what. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and if somebody is a React Query expert, please let me know what I'm doing wrong here. So as you can see, this is not very stable. If we go here and maybe refresh the page, now this works. Then we can try to add very good mug. It adds it, great. But if you want to add t-shirt again, it adds it, that's also great. If you want to add super duper hat, now it disappears. So it works 2 times out of 3 for some reason, but I don't like those odds because it should work every time. So this is why I'm not going to do it relying solely on React query, but we are now going to introduce Zustand into the mix, and this is going to make this functionality that we are trying to implement much more stable. Okay, so first of all, let's just clean everything up, remove the session ID so that we have clean slate here, refresh it, we don't get anything, then go to sessions, remove all the sessions that we created. So just that we have a clean state. Great. Now let's go to our application. And now here in the root of the app, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to new directory, and I'm going to call that directory stores, or you can call it store. And in that directory, I want to create a new file, and I'm going to call that file temp.order.js. So this is going to be our store for the state of our temp order. So here I'm going to import Zustand. So we actually import create from Zustand, then we create a use store hook. So with Zustand you actually create a hook that you can use throughout your application. So we create use store hook, and then we do create. And now we want to define what state we want to track here. So our state is going to be called temp order. Of course, you can have multiple states right here, but we are just going to track temp order state because that's what we are interested in, and that is what is going to allow us to add new data to our minicart. So we just do temp order, and the initial state for that is just going to be empty array. Okay, so next thing that we want to do is I want to add a function that is going to add something to this temp order state like this, and this function is called add to temp order. It just using the set state, and then we are setting this state like this. So we say temp order is going to be an array, and in it we are going to take current temp order. So in this initial case, it's of course going to be just an empty array, and then we are going to add items to it. So when somebody clicks on add to cart, we are going to send those items right here, and that is how we are going to fill out that array. So now that we have our state and our function for setting the state, let's try to implement this in some way. So first of all, I'm going to go to minicart.jsx here, and I'm going to leave this session because we are going to need it a little bit later. You will see why. But here you can just import use store from store temp order, and then you can just destructure it. So we can just destructure it like this. So temp order from use store, great. Save it, and then here instead of mapping through session, we are just going to map through temp order. We don't need to add any conditionals here because temp order is always going to be at least an empty array. But here we want to show your cart is empty if that array is actually empty. So we are just going to say, so use store get state temp order length. We are not using temp order. We could maybe, but when you're using use store get state, you're going to get the latest state. So we are just going to do it that way just in case, so that we always know if that state is actually full and if we have something to show or not. Okay, save this. And I can see that I made a bit of a mistake here. So this should be stores, not store. And also I forgot to export this. Now it's good. Now in Slack.jsx, we go here, and also we need to import the store. Now we need to change some things down here when adding something to cart. First of all, we are not going to have this temp order. We can remove that. Now we want to get the function for setting the temp order. So we do const add to temp order use store. So with the structure add to temp order. So this right here from the store. So we are going to use this function so that we can add new data into our temp order object or array. So actually I'm going to do it like this. So we just do add to temp order. So what does this function expect? As you can see, it expects some items, and then we are setting those items like this. This is going to read current temp order and whatever we send it here. So we do something like this, and then we just copy everything from here, and we don't need this temp order push. And what are we pushing here? Well, we are going to push the latest state that we set in our temp order. So as you can see, we just do useStore get state temp order, just like we did in the minicard JSX. Okay, save this, and I think we're done here. Let's go to our browser, refresh this page, and try to add SuperDuperHead. Okay, so great, this works. Go to t-shirt, edit, great. Go to very good Mag, great. T-shirt again. As you can see, this is much more stable and works much nicer. And also if we go to session, let's see if this works as expected. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. So we got all of those products right here. This works. However, we do have one problem. If I refresh the page, everything is gone. Of course, this is happening because our state with Zustand is not persisting in any way. So we are just getting an empty card right here because currently our temp order is empty. So now we are going to fix that. So when you refresh the page, your order is always going to show. So let's delete session ID again, so we can get the clean slate. Go to the sessions, delete all the sessions that we have. Great. Okay, so now we are going to go to our to our temp order JS, and here I'm going to create another function, and this one is going to be called set initial temp order. And we are setting it similarly to this, but instead of spreading this object inside of our array, we are just going to make this order, right? So we are just going to send the full order that we have to our temp order, and we are going to send it from our backend. So I'm just going to save this and go to minicard JSX. That is the reason why I left this use query right here, because we are still getting session here. And what I want to do is I actually want to use effect here. We are going to use effect and import it, of course, from React. Also, we want to import set initial temp order from useStore. So this is our second function. And what we are doing here is we are looking for this is success. Once this is successful, this function is going to run and it's going to fill out our temp order with the temp order that we have on our backend. So when somebody refreshes the page, it's automatically going to fill it out, and then all the normal add to cart functionality is going to continue like it did, like it worked just before we implemented this. So this is going to run only once this is successful, and once we get the data from this query. But it looks like I misspelled something here, so this should be set initial, and also in temp order it's not initial but initial order. Okay, let's save this so that everything is great. Save it, go to our browser. Okay, and now let's go to SuperDuperHead, edit, maybe do the t-shirt, great, very good mug, great. And now let's try to refresh our page. And as you can see, this is still here. You can even, close this tab if you want. Open it again and you get the same thing. And even since we are getting this data according to our session ID, which is saved into local storage, so your users can come even weeks later to your site and their mini cart is still going to be filled in. Okay, so this has been it for this episode. Everything we did here will be available for you on GitHub. The link will be in the description below. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.